Hi, it's Sherilyn, and you're watching Sweep the League. Subscribe and share.
Rudy Campos Jr. here from Sweep the League. Hey, make sure you go and follow Sherilyn on Instagram. Just search official Sherilyn on Instagram.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League Radio.
It is Taco Tuesday here for Sweep the League, sponsored by La Cocina Food Taco Truck, La Cocina Taco Truck, and MCS General Contracting. Shout out to both of our major sponsors there. We are joined tonight with Derek Gervin, host of Sweep the League, as well as myself, Rudy Campos Jr., and we've got the man himself, and he definitely is truly a man, a myth, and a legend. He's our very own buddy here at Sweep the League. It's host of Locked On Spurs, Mr. Jeff Garcia. What's up, Hefe? How are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right this fine evening. Just getting ready for tomorrow. I've been communicating with Ken's 5. We got everything ready to go for tomorrow. We're going to have so many from New York. We got a broadcast there. From Ken's 5 TV itself, and then myself and Vinny Vincetta will be at the Spurs, the practice facility for the big night. So we're getting all our ducks in a row right now. But Derek, first of all, I want to tell you congratulations again on the UTSA Hall of Fame. We're proud of you, buddy. But I was talking to Rudy ahead of time, but why is he not wearing a Derek Gervin jersey? He needs to be wearing a Derek Gervin jersey.
I'm trying to get one, Jeff. I'm trying to get
Tell
one.
them what we wear. You see what we're wearing tonight, Jeff. And we're wearing this in honoring you, basically. So it's not about me. It's about you tonight. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Well, I got my hat on. So I guess the Spurs fans always tell me, like, how come you never wear Spurs gear on Locked On Spurs? I mean, they don't pay attention. You know why, Rudy? Because this is the alt. Remember the old alt jersey?
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, the logo. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So I guess it doesn't really come out on camera. But
is that the Mike Gale years and the Kobe Dietrich years? What?
No. This is the alt logo that they were going to use a few years back. There was some pushback on it, and like some of the hats got out. And I unfortunately got one at one of the games. I just saw it and I grabbed it. But thank you, Rudy, for having me on. Long overdue, and appreciate it. And I guess you want to talk about the draft and the Spurs, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're bringing you on for Spurs draft picks. And real quick, to let everybody know, tomorrow, Sweep the League is coming to you live. We're going to be covering the first round of the NBA draft. We're going to do our pre-draft show, get you guys ready for the NBA draft. When the draft starts, we're going to go live again. We're going to bring you the entire first round, all the picks for the first round, including your San Antonio Spurs at 4-8 if they select them. Not only that, sometime during the night, once the picks are made, we'll try to get Jeff back on Sweep the League so we can kind of get some insight on what the Spurs maybe are doing. Maybe he has a little bit of insight of what they're probably doing in the war room. And then right after the draft's done, we have a post-draft show where we're going to recap what happened in the first round and also probably preview the 2025 draft, the explosive 2025 draft coming up next year. We have a big night tomorrow. Jeff's going to be a part of it. I'm going to be here. Derek Gervin will be here. Coach Gio will be here as well. Also, Ben Borstein of Project Spurs will be here as well with us. We've got just a fun night ahead of us, guys. But, let's go right into it, Jeff. So, obviously, we actually have some breaking news that I'm going to get into, but I want to get into Spurs draft pick first. But, obviously, the Spurs are at number 4 and 8.
Yeah.
And primarily right now, what we've seen is they want to go with a point guard right now. And I'm saying right now because as we talked yesterday, the draft is not really a guarantee right now. You can see Donovan Clingan at 1.
Yep.
Now you see rumors of him probably dropping to 4 to the Spurs. Woj just came out a little bit earlier this evening and said that Clingan is right around that 5 to 8 spot now. So we have no idea who's going to go where, but the latest intel for San Antonio that you've seen as far as rumors, news, and notes from the team or any of the guys out there that you talk to, how are the Spurs feeling at 4 and 8? And do you see them kind of going with a guard forward combination or vice versa, maybe a big man guard later on? What's the feeling right now in that San Antonio war room?
I think it's best available, and I think everything depends on 1, 2, and 3. And again, the caveat is that the Spurs keep 4 and 8. Let's just put that out there. But if they do keep 4 and 8, don't move it, then I've asked you this question before in Locked On Spurs, Rudy, and I'll mention it to Derek right now. This is the first draft where we don't know when it begins. They always, like last year, the draft really begins at 4 because Wemby, Scoot, and Brandon Miller are going to go 3. I actually think for the Spurs, I think the draft begins at 3 because I think Houston's the wild card here. What is Houston going to do? If they don't go Reed Shepherd, can you imagine that? And you got a Reed on the board still, and the Spurs are like, well, there solves our problem right now. Let's get Reed and get that 3-point and long ball shooting, and then we're solved. But as far as the temperature of the Spurs right now, I think is best available. I think they would like to solve their point guard position in the draft. From Devin Carter to Castle to Dillingham, those are the common names you're hearing right now. But if I know, I get it. All the mocks are all over the place. You see it, Derek sees it, your audience sees it. One day it's Klingon, now he's 5 through 8. Yeah. So, I think that's how wild this is because the Spurs. Can you imagine this? There's a chance the Spurs can walk away with Ricochet and possibly Devin Carter at the end of the night. And if that happens, I'll be fantastic. That's good to go. Or the Spurs can end up with Castle and Connect. Again, phenomenal. That's why I think the Spurs are sitting very pretty right now because they're in a position where the 3 teams have to make a really tough decision, and that could just change the fortunes of everything. Outside of 1 and 2, maybe Sar and maybe Ricochet. After that, man, it really starts with Houston, and I want to see where if Houston sticks to the guns with Reed Shepherd, but from the potential of a Twin Towers version 2.0 with Klingon and Wemby to a point guard solution with Castle to a swing guy like Ricochet. Yeah, the Spurs are sitting good, and I think whoever they get, and if they keep the picks 4 and 8, they're going to get a quality contributor. I'm not going to say an impact player, but they can get a quality contributor off the bat.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing too. And I'll be honest, I'm going to go on record here and say if Klingon is there at 3 and Houston's picking, I think they're going to go Klingon because Klingon pretty much solves that
can happen.
Adams. Yeah,
that can happen.
Yeah, it solves because they need someone to go right next to Sengun. And I think Klingon is perfect for Houston at number 3 because then you don't have to worry so much about Steven Adams. You can possibly, add him in a trade to a contender, get some pick, maybe a couple second round, maybe a late first for Steven Adams. So I think a Klingon at 3 would be good for Houston as well. It kind of is still up in the air. Derek, with the Spurs picking at 4 and 8, Jeff is mentioning right now it's best player available. Seeing that, Castle's been up there, and then now we're seeing that possibly Klingon might be dropping to 4, right around that 4-8. There's kind of a little thing that I saw earlier that what if the Spurs went off fridge here with Ricochet and then Saloon at 8?
Yeah.
I mean, that's half of the national team, and you're starting 5 probably right there.
For me, that's interesting because you and I had talked about Saloon before, and then I went and looked at a video, if you recall, and then I wrote you back within like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, I think this young man is a keeper. I think that would be great for the Spurs. But Jeff, tell me this: I know the draft is coming up tomorrow, but as far as moves behind the scenes, have you heard anything about Tobias Harris? Have you heard anything about De'Aaron Fox?
No. There's nothing on that front. Look, the Spurs are a revolt. You know this. Think about this. Look at their recent history. It wasn't the usual suspects, like Sharania or Woj that broke the news that LMA was being bought out. It was Popovich. It wasn't it wasn't them two once again, beating everybody to the punch and reporting what happened with the Josh Primo situation. It was the Spurs. So the Spurs are a vault, and they're not going to show their cards at all, even to local media, But as far as established players getting traded or possibly traded to San Antonio, yeah, you heard there's the usual suspects. Trae Young, by the way, the Trae Young rumor is spiking up again. Is that a case of where there's smoke, there's fire? Tobias Harris, I've been an advocate of Harris coming to San Antonio. I think he fits perfectly. to what the Spurs need. What a 10+ year veteran, a big, he's been in the playoffs, went to war with Philadelphia, knows what it's like to play with the big Embiid, and then Wemby. I mean, I would not mind seeing that. And that's the thing too. If the Spurs do go out in free agency, they don't have to swing for the fences and bring in big names. They can bring in good, solid free agents, keep some of that money they have, and really roll the dice in 2025 when that free agent pool is a lot better, with bigger names. Maybe then they can swing for the fences. I'm with you, Rudy. I think 2025 is the year where the Spurs should go all out. Just go all out. You want to move up in that draft? Go for it. You have those 2 Atlanta unprotected picks? Use them. You want to trade for a megastar, superstar to pair with Wemby? Do it, but wait till 2025. I'm okay with that. I'm willing to play the long game. But as far as the immediacy, I'd like to see them make substantial moves to get the Spurs better than what they are. But look, Derek, the bar is set low. 22 wins. 22 wins. If and I've asked Rudy this question. I want to ask you this question too, Derek. What if at the end of next season, when it's all said and done, the Spurs win 29 games? Is that a successful season? Technically, it's better. Where's the gauge? Where's the gauge?
I think after this previous season, I don't think 29 is the gauge. I think they want to do much better. And the reason I say that is because Victor is much more mature than his age. And he's the type of guy who wants to win now. He wants to be in the mix. And I think they're going to try to do whatever's necessary, even if they have to bring in a rookie at the point guard. I like the kid. Is it Topic or Topic?
Topic, yeah.
Yeah, I like him.
I'm not a big fan of him. I was, but I kind of cooled off tremendously with him.
The only reason I like him is because I think the Spurs, it's not like he kind of fits the Spurs system. And he'd be a guy that I think it would take a little while. You know how the Spurs are. They usually send people overseas and all that. But I think he's a guy that if you keep him here for a few years, maybe bring in a veteran to lead him. And, I've heard I brought up Trae Young a long time ago, Rudy, if you remember that. And I'll also throw in another guy. If you could tutor these guys with a Chris Paul or someone like that.
Sure.
I think then maybe you take a chance. Go ahead.
Even even a Tyus Jones. You
bring the brothers here. I wouldn't mind having both the brothers here. To be honest,
you're killing me with Duke players. You know that? Can we not bring in the Duke players, please?
But I'm seeing the comments right now. And by the way, Sith Elias, I agree with you. Yeah, I'm not sold on Topic, and it's beyond the injury situation with him to the knee. It's that he's 18 years old and already's had 2 knee injuries. Now, sure, the counter to that is he's young, he can rebound faster. Okay, fine. But you heard about what happened when he went to the combine, the later combine for the Europeans. All his measurements were off by a mile. He came in thinking, he has I'm making this up. He has 6.5 foot wingspan. Come to find out, it's just 6. Oh, he has this tremendous vertical. Look at him leap. It was measured almost near the bottom. So those things keep on stacking up for me. That's why I'm not sold on Topic. But the idea of Topic in that mold, you can see the thread with the Spurs looking for that type of guard. They're looking, Dirk, it's obvious. They're looking for a big guard. They drafted Josh Primo. It didn't work out. They moved on. They tried Sohan, a big guy at the point guard, didn't work out. They tried Malachi Branham at the point guard, another big guard, didn't work out. So you see what they want. They want a big guard running things. And as of now, looks like they'll be going with Trae Jones, which I feel bad, Derek, because Trae's a good player. He's a good player. He just that 3 shot can't fall for him, or the outside shot can't fall for him. And but if you want Wemby to be happy, the one guy that made Wemby very happy last year was Trae Jones. You look at the stats, it was the Wemby and Trae. They had a lot of assists between he fed the big man more so than anybody on the roster. But Topic, I think Rudy's gonna be wearing a Topic jersey because that's how much of a fan he is.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate on the Topic part. I was a massive Topic fan, before the injury, and I said he was probably gonna be the 4th pick in this draft for the San Antonio Spurs. That's who I really had at my top of the list. the injury is concerning to me, but let me throw this scenario out there. We've always said the same Spurs team comes back. Are they going to make the play-in spot? Probably not. I mean, we saw what we had year one. You're going to see the improvement maybe. And I said, Jeff, if the exact same team comes back, I put him at 28 wins. I'll give him 6 more wins because, Victor can get him to 6 more wins. But the exact same team is not going to get you to the playoffs. It's not going to get you to the play-in. So if you're not making any major moves outside of the draft, then what is the problem taking Topic maybe at 8? Because you're going to give him that time to heal. And you can work with him in that entire year. Come into 2025, you're going to have a nice draft pick if you're still a lottery team. You're going to have Atlanta's draft pick if they're going to be a lottery team. That's when everything starts to pull into shape. And then who knows, Topic could be the absolute best point guard in this draft, and you won't know yet. So it's almost like a swing for the fences. You go at guys that can do it now, or do you want a guy that can wait? Spurs have a really good history on waiting on guys that are draft and stash, basically. I mean, if I remember Manu Ginobili, I think he was okay here. Fabricio Berto, this guy, he was pretty good here. These are all guys that were just kind of stash and grab and stash kind of guys. And Topic could be one of those guys, but I understand the concerns for him. And it's almost like Spurs fans and even Spurs front office is maybe listening to social media when they say they want to win now. Yeah. And you're kind of seeing that same sentiment being brought up in the front office.
Okay, but fine. But can they afford a project player in the rebuild? Can they afford to do that? I don't think they can.
Does Tobias Harris give him 31 wins? 32 wins.
I'm not saying that he gives them 31 wins, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. One of the needs is needed veteran presence. And no knock on McDermott last year, or even let's not forget Zach Collins is the veteran, and Devontae Graham. But I think they need a veteran in the ilk of Tobias Harris. And again, it could be somebody else. It doesn't have to be Harris. It could be somebody else. But but no, I hear what you're saying about Topic. I don't know. There's too many. If I'm weighing it like a pros and cons scale, and it tips cons, I'm like, nah. Maybe not, we'll pass. And maybe they, like Derek said, they can address that in free agency with the Chris Paul, alike to bring in. But would Chris Paul want to come to a rebuilding situation considering he's chasing a ring still? Does he want to be a rent player, for a year, just to teach, whoever they draft at point guard, what it is to be a point guard in the NBA?
I truly think Chris Paul would come to the Spurs if they make the right moves. And this is kind of what I foresee. I could see Chris Paul signing a 1-year deal for just this season with another team. I don't really care who it is, maybe the Lakers, maybe whoever. I think he signs a 1-year deal because even Chris knows that the summer of 2025, when you've got all these massive stars, and these are legit stars in the NBA, are going to be free agents. He knows the Spurs have all the salary cap in the world, all the wiggle room in the world. They've got massive draft picks, draft capital going in. This is going to be the Oklahoma City for San Antonio. This is their time right now.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see Paul maybe sign a 1-year deal, get ready for 2025, see where some of these other superstars land. Yeah. And who knows? I mean, he may be in San Antonio to ring chase in 2025.
Another option too, if the Spurs want a veteran big guard, why doesn't Derek just come out of retirement? Derek, why don't you just come out of retirement and just suit up?
I think because they don't want to go below 22 wins, they want to go above.
It's kind of crazy. I'm gonna before we go to commercial break. Sith brought this up, and Derek, this is something for you because I know you and I talk about Westbrook a lot, and he said he wishes someone like Westbrook was willing to come this way, and it's kind of like, okay, you get a shot of adrenaline with Westbrook. Does Westbrook make sense for them for about a year or so? Does he move the needles a lot when it comes to the Spurs?
Well, I don't think he moves it a lot, but I mean, it will be an upgrade from, I would say, Trey, from Trey, but I like the Jones. I like Trey and Tyus. But I think it will be an upgrade. But the only thing is, when Russ comes in, is Russ willing to sacrifice? Because he's not getting any younger, just like Chris Paul. And he has to realize when he comes in, and usually when Russ plays now, I thought last year, like I told you, Rudy, he was better with the Clippers when he played 15 to 27 minutes.
Mm.
And I think anything after that, Russ has a tendency to get a little bit out of control. If he was willing to come in and just play his role and not worry about trying to, get more money for the future and things like that, I think it would be a great asset. For one thing, he brings toughness. He plays hard, and I think Victor will welcome that. I think the city of San Antonio will welcome that. But the thing is Russ coming here for the betterment of the team, or is he coming here for the betterment of Russell Westbrook? And that would be the question I would have.
Yeah, that's kind of the tough one with the Westbrook thing.
And also too, I don't. Well, I know you got to go to break, Rudy, but just to react to what Derek said, why as much as maybe Westbrook would answer a veteran presence, for me, it's the off the court antics. I don't think the Spurs would want him battling with fans, cussing out fans, really getting in fights with fans, getting fans thrown out. I don't think that'd be a good look for them. But maybe the Spurs way will help them stay in the right path, because usually Spurs fans don't really act up like that at games.
Well, not anymore, since Pop told us to shut up, basically.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
This is Sweep the League, Jeff Garcia and Derek Gervin. Hey, I got a lot of y'all's comments in the chat here, so don't worry. We'll get to them. Mario Cavas was asking about Juan Nunez. We definitely got something on Juan Nunez. Tim's asking a good amount of questions here. Set this in here. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. We're going to be right back here with Jeff Garcia. It's Derek Gervin. It is Rudy Campos Jr. Sweep the League. We'll be right back, guys. Living in South Texas, we all love to eat, especially tacos. Oh boy, La Cocina Taco Truck should be your only stop every time. They are just a short drive away, located at 283 West San Antonio Street in New Braunfels, Texas. There is no order too big or small for the staff to handle. Whether it's the ever so popular street tacos, all the way to the amazing quesadillas, La Cocina will satisfy your appetite, guaranteed. Head over to see them at 283 West San Antonio Street in New Braunfels, Texas. Make that short drive so you can be satisfied. At La Cocina Taco Truck. Proud sponsors of Sweep the League. That is right. Tomorrow we have our NBA draft coverage. Sweep the League comes to you live with a pre-draft show. Also, we're going to be covering the first round of the NBA draft. Every single pick in that first round, including your San Antonio Spurs at 4-8. What do they do with it? We'll find out tomorrow. Then we'll come to you with a post-draft show right afterwards. So whether you are at home watching on ESPN or at a bar partying with another podcast that we know very well, whatever you're doing, be sure to join us here on Sweep the League, whether it be your phone, TV, computer, however you want to join us. Join us tomorrow. We will try to get Jeff on once the Spurs make their picks later on in the draft. We'll try to get Jeff's input on their picks as well. So that is tomorrow. Shout out to La Cocina Food Truck and MCS General Contracting, sponsors of Sweep the League. Also Mudslingers, Special Leaf Tea, Lids, Burger Boy. The list goes on and on. We got a lot of great support here at Sweep the League, so shout out to them. Going back to the comments, guys. So Mario Cavazos had a pretty good comment here, and he's asking about Juan Nunez. So basically, Juan Nunez is he's a great player, and he's going to be a second-round pick. There's no way he's going in the first here. So you're talking about a 6'4" guy, 20 years old, didn't have really stats that jump out at you. But his passing ability is where it's going to really make him get him on a team, basically. You're going to see him a lot in the G League if he ends up getting drafted. He needs a lot of polishing to do. Can finish at the rim. He's a very good rebounder, very smart defender. It's just his shooting. And that's kind of the common thread for a lot of these prospects in this draft is the shooting. There's probably maybe a handful of, consistent shooters in this draft. But yeah, definitely Juan Nunez is one guy that's been mentioned actually on social media, whether it be Twitter and Facebook, that he's probably a look at the second round for the San Antonio Spurs. Thank you for the comment there, Mario. But, also we've got Jeff, you got a question from Tim Gonzalez here saying, which legendary Spurs player you haven't interviewed that one day you just want to sit down and talk to outside of basketball? So Jeff's interviewed me, and I'm pretty legendary in the Spurs uniform. But
that should be enough already. No,
that should be enough.
You know what? I guess you could call him legendary because of his stint here in San Antonio. But the one I would love to chat with, Dennis Rodman. I would love to pick his brain. I would love to understand what goes through that mind. What was it when he was a Spur? How crazy did it get in there? Madonna at the Alamo Dome playoff game, motorcycle accident. I would love to sit with him and talk with him about that.
That would
Hey
be
Jeff,
wow.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I heard some stories because he used to have his hairdresser here when he was dyeing his hair,
Yeah.
and so I've heard some stories from my brother, man, from George,
I bet they're
and I think
wild.
that would. Oh my goodness, I think that would be a great interview. That you picked
Yeah.
the right person. That would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Dennis
Man.
Rodman would be one I would. I think that I wouldn't. I mean, I think you should just wind him up and let him go, and just feel like, so your time in San Antonio, go, and then he'll just like spill the beans, because he has no filter. I mean, we all know that he does not have a filter. He'll just say what is on his mind.
I don't know if you could run that on Locked On Spurs. That would probably tell you no on
It'll
that
just be
interview.
like constant beeping, and then you just. But then there was a time beep 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 beep, beep, Riverwalk, beep, beep, yeah, something like that.
That'd be a 45-minute show, but all condensed into like 5 minutes because you couldn't air half of that stuff, I am sure, right there.
Right.
So we got some breaking news. Before we go into more questions from you guys, we do have some breaking news right here. And I'm going to get this because this kind of affects the draft if we are looking at it. And right now, guys, Derek, I want your take on this. Mikal Bridges has been traded across the river. He's going to be a New York Knick next year. So Mikal Bridges is going from the Brooklyn Nets to the New York Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
For Bojan Bogdanovic,
Bogdan.
4 unprotected first-round picks and a protected first-round pick via the Bucks, and an unprotected pick swap and second rounder. The Knicks are giving up a ton for Mikal Bridges, but this solves that scoring issue that you and I talked about a lot, Derek, when it comes to the New York Knicks.
Yeah, I think it's a good move for the Knicks. I still think they need another big man. They got to figure out what they're going to do with, Hardenstein is their starter now, but they have to figure out what they're going to do with Robinson. But I think this is definitely a good move. I think a lot of people forget Julius Randle will also be back. At least right now, currently, he's coming back. So when you add a guy like Mikal Bridges, who had a standout season in 2022-23, and I think he'll be looking to kind of rebound this year. And what better way to start than with a guy like Jalen Brunson? So I think it's a great move. Giving up some picks I think that was okay. But the Knicks are trying to win now. So to bring in a guy that could play on both ends of the floor, he's actually not a bad leader. He's a pretty good guy to have in your locker room. And of course, he can score the ball. But for me, more importantly, he has on the defensive end. He also defends. He's got that tenaciousness like a guy like Josh Hart. And so I think it's a good move for the Knicks. I think things are looking good for them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I really think that when it's all said and done, I mean, I had them actually trading for Karl Anthony Towns, but now that they've given up this many picks, I don't see them having any picks left to make that kind of move. But you're right, they do need a big man. Is this something that where we may see a Jared Allen might be dangled to New York right here? I think they're going to re-sign Hardenstein. But I think if the Cleveland Cavaliers are not happy with Jared Allen, the Knicks could potentially probably dangle Mitchell Robinson in front of Cleveland, and that might actually be enticing for Cleveland. And the Knicks could probably send maybe someone else back in return. So it's going to be interesting to see what the New York Knicks do. This is where Jeff was there in New York, and Gio always tells me about the New York stories.
Don't
man.
remind me.
Hey, Rudy.
Jeff,
hold on just a second.
Huh?
I'm sorry. Let me
Yes,
just say this quickly and then get back to Jeff. When you think about this, you got DiVincenzo, you got Josh Hart. Now you throw in Mikal Bridges. You got Brunson. You got Anunoby, Randall. Oh, man. The things are looking up in New York. I think so. Think about it like that. It's a great move because I can't leave Anunoby out of there. Yeah, I think the Knicks made a really good move.
Yeah, I think they can threat Boston is probably their biggest threat right now is the New York Knicks. And I remember saying that when I think Jeff had asked me on one of the Sweep the Leagues who was a threat to the Celtics next year. The Knicks was one of the teams. Definitely they're one of the teams. Philadelphia is another one that I think could disrupt Boston's power in the East, your power control in the East right now. But
Yep.
the Knicks making the right moves to do it. And like I was mentioning with Jeff, Gio always talks about New York with me, how he loved it, how he ate here, how he ate there.
Right here, Rudy. You're hitting me right here.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring that part up, man. But hey, Derek's had a taste of New York lifestyle as well.
That's right. As a net.
New Jersey, man.
New Jersey. Yeah.
I can't ever make it up that way.
No,
man.
I think Mickey Manos, Jeff. You familiar with Mickey Manos?
Yes, I know. Right across. Well, there's a location right across from Central Park. I remember that one. But I got a story for you about going to a Spurs game when they were the New Jersey Nets. Still playing in East Rutherford, I believe it was.
East Rutherford, yes, sir. East Rutherford, yes.
So this is Manu Ginobili when Manu Ginobili was at his height, and there was a pack, and I say a pack, like a wolf pack of Argentinian-based San Antonio Spurs fans / Manu fans. So they occupied like the first 3-4 rows and just cheering Manu like crazy. Like, I mean, the flag is up, the blue and white jerseys. They are just Manu, Manu, Manu. Well, New Jersey Nets didn't take kindly to that, and a brawl broke out. A big brawl broke out between Manu fans and Nets fans, right on the lower bowl, just flat out brawling, throwing, swinging, everything.
Manu's still causing havoc everywhere he goes. Jeez, man. Well, I'm going to give y'all a quick insight here. Woj is actually reporting that the Houston Rockets have contacted the Phoenix Suns in regards to the availability of Kevin Durant.
Yep, saw that.
So, yeah, that just came across the wire right now. So,
and think about that too. If let's just pretend that happens, the Spurs rebuild may be a little pushed forward more because you got teams that possibly could be lapping them. Houston's right on their tails. Minnesota's already lapped them. Memphis is still going to be Memphis. You got Dallas is still going to be Dallas. Oklahoma has lapped them. So the Spurs don't want to get lapped. They want to catch up. And that move would just be tough for them.
It's tough to make deals. Yeah. I mean, in the NBA, it's really tough. You can have all the draft capital in the world. You can have all the money in the world, but you've got to be able to attract and present. Well, the sad thing is when you have this much availability, whether it be draft picks or money, teams are going to want to take as much as they can. And they know you're going to have to give up whatever they want. So you're kind of like holding you hostage. It's the things, will the Spurs actually give into it? That's the problem that I feel.
I think that was a lot though for Bridges though.
That's a lot. That's a ton.
I get what you're saying, Derek. The Knicks want to win now, but I mean they mortgaged their future practically. If it doesn't work out,
they did that. They did that, but I guess they want, like you just talked about, guys want to not get left behind. They're trying to win now, and I guess they're going to take that chance. And you guys didn't mention we mentioned the teams that's trying to stay in the mix, and don't forget the New Orleans Pelicans. Shout out to Swin Cash for being named the Vice President of Operations. I had to get that in. Swin, congratulations.
Yeah, definitely Swin Cash. And, New Orleans is another team. Brandon Ingram is going to be on the move. And, I've seen anything from Brandon Ingram possibly going to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a deal I'm thinking, if I'm not mistaken, was Darius Garland for a Brandon Ingram type move. We talked about it. Klay Thompson, probably on the move to Orlando. There's just a lot of moves left and right there. We're going to see a bunch of them tomorrow. So you guys have a better memory than me. So Tim's asking about, for all three of us, back in 1993 game, NBC Bulls versus Spurs was the game of the week. Was that the turning point or the Spurs season? I in 1993, I think I was what? Oh my God, what was I, 14? So that's like 30 years ago, man.
31 years ago.
Yeah. I can't think that far back. Do you guys have any idea what he's talking about, the Bulls and Spurs?
I'm lost. I just know I remember a game with Robinson and Jordan kind of going back and forth at each other, where I think Robinson had the advantage ultimately, but I don't recall like that a game between the Bulls and the Spurs being like a pivotal game. Maybe he can explain a little bit better what he means.
Yeah, maybe. So is it me, or did Robinson really dominate Jordan majority of the time? It just felt like just David and the Spurs had Jordan's number around that time. I'll be rocking my Monte Ginobili jersey. Mañana, I'm picking up a draft cap thanks to Rudy and Sweep Today. Yeah, shout out to Sid, man. We got you a Lids gift card, so grab that. Villanova Knicks, Derek, with all those players. Yeah, I mean, Villanova's, they just need Jay Wright there, Derek, and then they'll be set.
Hey, don't say well. That's funny you say that. Tibbs is like, hey man, I'm trying to keep my job. Don't put. Tibbs is doing a good job, man. He overplays. Maybe now he won't have to play all his starters 45 minutes. So this might help him. But I actually think he had a pretty good year. He was in the coach of the year running. And I think they're going to continue to have a good team. And maybe Mikal Bridges might be what's on the way to getting them over the hump once they address their center situation.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges is going to help. They desperately need a big man. I don't think Robinson and Hardenstein. I think Hardenstein makes sense. Robinson's one guy who I think has to be on the move. And I mean, like I said, maybe you can get a Jared Allen there. You can probably even a Valanciunas is probably available to where you can maybe get a Valanciunas to maybe be a Nick. A lot of these guys end up making sense for New York Knicks. But on the flip side, man, we're going to have more draft talk with Jeff Garcia, Derek. We may even go into the vault because it's not every day that I get Derek and Jeff on the show. And we all like to talk about past Spurs and past NBA players. Jeff's joining the comments when we're on here. He's dropping past player names. So we'll pick their minds here a little bit on the way back from Sweep the League. This is Sweep the League. Derek Irvin and Jeff Garcia, host of Locked On Spurs. Rudy Campos Jr., give us a couple of seconds. We'll be right back, guys. A family is just like your home. It starts with a great foundation. MCS General Contracting can make sure your foundation is off to a perfect start. Whether you're wanting to build a pool, expand a patio, or build a driveway, MCS General Contracting should be your only call. They provide top-notch customer service and will stand by their work 100% of the time. Why trust the rest when you can just call the best? Build the best foundation now for your home and your family, because a good foundation is the perfect start to a happy life. Contact MCS General Contracting today at 210-774-9155. Proud sponsors of Sweep the League. San Antonio's choice for NBA coverage, and it's proven here because we've got the number one choice for Spurs coverage, and Jeff Garcia here, host of Locked On Spurs, joining Derek Irvin and myself here on Sweep the League. Again, MCS General Contracting. If you need that driveway poured, you know what? If you need that basketball court like I do, because I'm not as good as Derek, I never will be, and I'm not as good as Jeff on the basketball court either. I need that concrete poured so I can get me a basketball court in the backyard. Contact the guys at MCS General Contracting, proud sponsor Sweep League and La Casina Food Truck, Taco Truck over in New Braunfels. The food is magnificent. I'm going this weekend. I'm going again this. I'm going to go this weekend. I'm going to sit down and have me a taco, and then I'm going to go do what Jeff does and work out for like 10 hours so I can burn off that one taco. But I'm definitely going to see Louis and his dad this weekend. So, guys, we love talking old Spurs stuff here. And FYI, Jeff, you got to remember on Locked On, I've always brought up this name. When you kind of asked me, who are my Mount Rushmore of Spurs? You know, I've always said Timmy. I've always said David Robinson. Right. I've always said George Gervin. And then I always slap everybody because I never say Tony. I never say Manu. I never say Kawhi. I never say Greg Popovich. Who is the one guy that I always mentioned, if you remember, as the fourth guy?
Oh, I think if it's wrong, I think you would understand why, though. Alvin Robertson?
You're not wrong. You are right, man. That's awesome. I slap everybody there. I'm going to give you a quick story. You know, Derek and I were at a card show, and I mentioned Alvin Robertson. And what does Derek do? He pulls out his phone, dials Alvin Robertson's number, and I start talking to Alvin Robertson. And I'm like, how and what do I say? Hello, Alvin? I just felt like I was, what's his name from Alvin and the Chipmunks? Alvin! Like, I was getting like crazy, you know, here I am. But going back, I mean, was there ever an NBA guy outside of the Spurs that you talked to maybe that was just kind of like wow, I'm really talking to this guy?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one of those moments, because like I said, I mentioned the Bill Walton story.
Yeah.
I talked to Bill Walton when he was doing a coaching clinic here in San Antonio for the Drug Free League. And I went up to Bill and I'm like, Bill, what, if I want to be a coach at a higher level, what do you recommend that I do? And like I said, he puts his massive hand on my shoulder and says, buy a plaid suit and cut, shave your head and call yourself Jack Ramsey. And I was like, that's the perfect Bill
Done
Walton
and
story
done.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
For you, Jeff, what was that one guy?
It's not a Spur. I was living in New York City, and Team USA was in New York City to practice. They were having an event. It was going to be Team USA versus Team Brazil. This was when Splitter was still in Brazil, and he was there and everything. I got a brief. I mean, when I say brief interaction with one player, then I'll tell you about the other story I have. So I'm there. I remember interviewing Kevin Love, and he's still with Minnesota. When I feel a gust of wind pass me and a slight bump, and I'm like, "Ooh, what hit me?" So apparently I was used as a cone by Westbrook. He used me as a Westbrook for a dribbling cone. So there was that. And then, but following that, I remember sitting on the bench with prime Derrick Rose, and we weren't interviewing. I got kind of like sidetracked by his shoes that he was wearing. I thought they were pretty good sneakers. And I remember sitting next to him, and he goes, "Oh, you think that's cool? Look at this." He pulls a duffel bag, unzips it, and just starts unloading sneaker after sneaker after sneaker. To this day, I regret not kind of hinting that I wanted a pair, because I know they get new pairs all the time. But
Yeah.
So we didn't have a conversation about sneakers, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That I think I go back to the Nike Hoop Summit when the Final Four was here. And I was just a little fat kid at the time, at the game. And, you're seeing guys like Sebastian Telfair, Josh Smith, J.R. Smith, Jordan Farmar, just to name a few there at that game playing against the world. And at that time, Yi Jin Lan was actually the hype guy for the world team. And that's where I got to get an autograph. And I met Jerry West. He was there.
Oh, nice.
Chris Mullen, man, Chris Mullen, that was awesome. I was walking into the stands. I look and I see Chris Mullen watching the game, obviously scouting. And I stop and turn and I have my basketball and I'm like, "Can you sign it?" And he looks at me like, "F this kid," basically like, "Fine, you know what? I'll sign." He signs it with the most disrespectful look. He signs it. But that was the one time I felt like, okay, cool. I wish I was kind of media stuff way back then, but I was a kid back then. So that's my experience with that. I can't ask Derek because Derek, I mean, Jeff, if you hear some of these stories, and I haven't heard them all, but you should hear Derek. I mean,
I've heard some of them, man, when I've been watching your show, and I'm like, wow, Derek has some tales. There's a nice stories.
Larry Bird, Derek. I mean, you want to share some of the old stories here with us at Sweep the League? Because we got a couple of questions for you here, but I want to hear some of these old classics that I have yet to hear.
Well, I actually had words with I've never told you this. Michael Jordan. I had become a starter with the Nets. And if you guys remember, I know y'all kind of young, but if you remember at George's last year of his career, he played with the Bulls.
Yeah.
And Mike and Stan Albeck was the coach who had been George's coach here with the Spurs, and they were also really good friends. So we get there, Mike, we get ready to play the Bulls, and we're warming up. And I just start thinking about some of the things that Mike, what my brother went through that last year of his career. And so right before we started the jump ball, I'm standing there, and I'm standing next to Scotty, and Mike's standing directly across from me. So somehow I end up getting a little closer, walking over there before they actually threw the ball up. And I had a few choice words for Michael Jordan. I kind of didn't like him the way he didn't welcome George, because George has always been a team guy. And if you listen to the players today, they still talk about him. And the fans here talk very highly about him. So that was probably my biggest story was the words I said to Michael Jordan. They're not PG words. So I won't say too much. I'll leave it at that. And then the last one was Larry Bird. Jeff, all the stories you hear about Larry talking trash, and this to all the people that's listening, they're true. I was running out to guard him. Chris Morris and myself were on the floor at the same time. And all of a sudden, we end up having to switch off and something happens. And Larry's not the fastest guy, but he's the type of guy, if you turn your head away and you're ball watching, he's not going to be there when you turn around. So me, still learning the game in the NBA game, I turn my head trying to help out on someone else. I turn around, I look for Larry. So I lose him. He's way out at the 3-point line at the 23.9, whatever it is. And so Chris Morris and I, all of a sudden, we both trying to run full speed, and we running out towards him. And it's so true. I put up my hand. Chris Morris, I call him Mo. Mo puts up his right hand. I put up my left hand. And as we're running out there, Larry hollers, "This is on the both of yous." And this is a true story. When he said that, Jeff, "This is on the both of yous," I just kept running past him. And then I turned around. At no point did I expect for it to be a rebound. And guess what? It wasn't. Nothing but the bottom of the net.
That is, look, one of my stories is that doesn't rise to that story, Derek, whatsoever. But 2014 Spurs win the title. I go into the locker room celebration. Okay. I'm kind of doing like a circuit, like I'm going around. So I talk to Corey Joseph, then there's Bellinelli, and I see, Diao. So I go, okay, I'm going to go talk to Diao, So Diao sees me get into his locker area. He puts his arm around me, tells me to put the mic away, gives me a beer, and he goes, let's just party, man. Let's just party. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Wow, man. I love the story of the locker room. Derek had his moment with Larry Bird. And I played a game in high school against Devin Brown. I mean, that's probably been my closest NBA guy. I played a game, a scrimmage game with Stanley Bonowitz and Dante Mathis. And I'll be honest, there's no way I could have guarded them. Devin Brown dunked on me, and I was like, you know what? Oh, well, who cares? That's been the closest NBA guys that I've ever played against. But it's cool because I like talking to you guys when it comes to old school NBA stuff. We got guys in here. Seth is asking this: who's the most overhyped Spur? He says it's Tony Parker. Now, if we're talking about the most overhyped Spur, I really can't. I'd have to take some time to think about it. But I will say this, and I've been crucified a million times for this, but they have to understand where I'm coming from. And that is, Manu Ginobili's not overhyped. He's not overhyped. He's a brilliant basketball player, one of the best to ever play the game, period. But I think the lure of Manu was based off of San Antonio hype. They brought Manu to that next level, to the superstardom level. I don't think he makes it to that level in Utah or, an Orlando or somewhere. Put some numbers, but I don't think he makes that extra leap into, the major superstar status. How is that fair, Derek and Jeff? Because it's not calling him overhyped. I just think he's more San Antonio lore is what I say when it came to Manu. Again, I'm not talking about his game. I'm just talking about the actual, I guess not hype, but the lore of Manu Ginobili came from San Antonio Spurs fans.
You want to take that one, Derek? Because I don't know where to begin with that one.
That's a tough one for me because me being a Gervin, you know who my favorite guard of all time is, but I have Manu second, and I think Manu would have been a hell of a player. And you said it's not about his play, but I think wherever he went, Rudy, he's the type of guy that raises the team, raises the level of the team. He's more one of those guys that can do everything. And I think when we have players like that, if you listen to the late Kobe Bryant talk about him, Kobe talked very highly about Manu. I just think Manu, wherever he played, would have been successful. I think being with the Spurs was at the right time, and he was surrounded by the right guys. But I don't think he's overhyped to any of that. I don't think the Spurs have had any overhyped players. Maybe Kawhi because he wasn't here long. But other than that, I don't think they really had any overhyped players.
I might have one overhyped player. I might, and I could feel already Rudy pushing back on me already.
What did I do?
All right, here we go. Ready? I got Derek Anderson as overhyped. I mean, they rolled out.
I can't argue. Okay, I can't argue that. That's a good one, Jeff. That's a good one.
Yeah, they rolled out. Literally, they rolled out the red carpet. They brought him out to mariachis when he arrived in San Antonio.
I remember that.
And it was a bust and didn't really pan out. And I think he was very overhyped.
What about Richard Jefferson?
Oh, that's a good one. There you go.
Richard Jefferson, that was a real waste of whatever you want to call it, man. I mean, that was that. People are pissed off, and that's what I'm trying to get here. People are upset because of the Manu Ginobili thing. And that's what I'm saying. Manu's not overhyped. I just feel like if Manu's in Utah, he's going to put up the same numbers no matter what. But is he that sexier in Utah than he was in San Antonio? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Can I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Rudy, I think yes. The reason I say yes is because a lot of people know about Manu's European play and how, what he did with Argentina. And so I think wherever he played, he was going to be the same guy. He might not won the same amount of championships or whatever, but he was going to raise the level of the team he played with. And I think just the lore from him overseas, he would have been the same guy. But I mean, it's not every day you're surrounded by Tim Duncan or Tony Parker and these guys. And I just think Manu, is a great player. And I think wherever he played, we would still be talking about him the same way he's talked about today.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to disagree with that. I think the more that where he played is what I was kind of getting at. He's going to have the same stats. He's going to probably be better in other teams. I mean, he's going to be the main focal point for a majority of these teams. I just, look at it like, okay, if he's outside of San Antonio, is the name that much bigger? Does he get this much recognition? The wins wouldn't be there if he's playing on one of the other teams. I guarantee you that. I mean, that would be the hard part for Manu. We got Kawhi's in here, and he's a Kawhi fan. Why is he bringing up Kawhi Leonard? Kawhi deserves more respect. Kawhi does deserve more respect. I mean, I was one of the bashers back in the day, but I actually.
So far, Rudy, we have Rudy saying
Jeff,
Manu was not that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Hey, Jeff, let me say this quickly about Manu. And this is why I say he would have been the same wherever he played, right?
Okay.
There's only certain guys that you look at. And, Jeff, you remember him playing, right? Pop had to kind of swallow his tongue when it came to Manu, right? You don't get those guys every day that come in. Manu had the flash, man. I mean, he might dribble through his opponent's leg. He give you the around the back pass. I'm getting excited just thinking about it. And I think wherever he played, the fans would have just welcomed him with open arms, and Manu would have still been Manu. It just wouldn't have been in San Antonio. But some of the things he did, man, even the block shot on Dirk, I can go on and on. The guy just wherever he played, I just think he would have been the same guy. Just exciting, just thrilling to watch.
So Derek, so basically so far right now, Rudy has kind of shot down a little bit Manu, but hyped up Kawhi. He's loving the fans right now, right? No way to press the buttons.
We got to do a little, and we don't just say stuff to say stuff on this show. We actually back it up 100% of the time. Parker. They're talking about Parker got cooked in Charlotte. Parker was like 99 years old when he was in Charlotte. He was at the end of his career. He was going to get cooked either way, no matter what. Gentlemen, glad to hear your thoughts on overrated coaches. We can get into some overrated coaches here in just a little bit. Where are we ranking Willie Anderson and Terry Cummings as Spurs greats? Terry Cummings definitely ranks higher than Willie Anderson. That's for sure. But does Terry Cummings make the top 10? I'm going to throw that at both of you guys. Does Terry Cummings make the top 10?
Top 10 what?
Spurs.
Oh, Spurs? Oh, man. Oof.
That's tough, isn't it?
Would it be wrong to have LMA ahead of TC?
What did you say? That's pretty much the same player?
Yeah.
So TC was doing it before David, wasn't he?
What do you mean by doing it? What do you mean?
He was playing because LMA came in and he still had Tim his first year. Then you had DeRozan. So I think TC was playing at the same level with less than LMA?
But TC, no. Let me think. No, LMA had a better squad. Well, jeez.
That's tough.
Yeah, that was tough. I got me there.
Derek,
I hope I don't have to answer. That's a well. That's what I was going to say. That's a tough one for me because I get my sermons from him every Sunday as we speak.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, we need to get
it's hard for me to. Yeah, it's hard for me to leave him out the top 10. But when I really think about it, it's hard because I've seen all these Spurs teams back from the '70s, and you've got the guys, the Larry Keenans and the Mike Mitchells. The James Silas, a lot of the guys that a lot of the people might not be familiar with because they're a lot younger. But for me, TC top 10, man, I'm gonna say that's a tough one for me. But I'll put him right. Let's say he's a fringe 10 or 11. He's somewhere in there, but top 10 will be hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I think that's a good question. That's a very, very tough one. I'm not bashing Manu Ginobili, guys. I mean, give me a break.
It sounds like you're just knocking him down a peg.
I'm not. Well, he's not top 4 for me in the Spurs, organization. That's for sure. I don't.
You really want me to tweet that? You really want me to tweet that, don't you, Rudy?
Well, no. This is my own personal opinion. I said it was Tim, David, George. And David and George are any order. I don't mind that. And then it's Alvin Robertson for me. Alvin Robertson has a record that will never be broken, ever, period. So, I mean, what he did for the Spurs, quadruple double. I mean, that's a lot of stuff that he's done for the San Antonio Spurs.
He was Kawhi before Kawhi.
Yeah. I mean, he really was. And that's why I would put Manu comfortably probably 5th right there. I like Manu at 5th. Then I can go maybe Kawhi at 6th right there. I mean, that finals MVP, brought a title. Then maybe you want to go Tony Parker. Then you got, of course, Sean Elliott, James Silas is making that list. I mean, there's so many guys you can go in the top 10. Man, I don't know. Does TC make the top 10? That's going to be a head scratcher.
Did you put a Special K in there?
I did not. I did not put Larry Keenan in there. I got
Special K in the top 10.
I mean,
Johnny Moore.
Johnny Moore's another one.
I don't have him in my top 10.
You know what?
I don't have Johnny Moore in my top 10.
Oh my God. I got a good one for both you guys because I want to ask you this. We got a few minutes left. I want to ask you this. Would you consider Avery Johnson overhyped?
Yes.
That's kind of one where
I agree.
Overhyped, Avery Johnson. Derek, what do you feel on that one? I promise everyone here.
Hopefully by now Avery's worked a little bit on his right hand. So I'll say a little overhyped, but he contributed. He hit the big shot in our first championship. So I'll give him some respect for that. But other than that, I'll say yes, a little overhyped.
What about Bruce Bowen?
I don't know if Bruce was overhyped. I think Bruce was right where he needed to be as a player. Defensive specialist, corner 3-point guy. I don't know if it was overhyped. I think he was right where he needed to be when it came to Spurs. Spurs lord.
Top 10? Would be my thing. Is he top 10, Rudy?
No, definitely not top 10.
And George, I don't know how you feel. I'm sorry, Derek. I don't know how you feel about this.
Man.
Sorry, I don't know how you feel about this, but I don't think Avery and Johnson and Bruce Bowen's jersey should be hanging in the Frost Center right now.
Jeff, I don't need it to be. We're being honest about it. And I love some of these guys, man. And I'm gonna be honest about it. I love Johnny Moore as well.
Yep.
The Spurs made their decisions, but there's about 3 guys or 4 guys. I think they got to the point now. It's just basically you're lowering the bar, and I'm just being honest about it. I hold that at high esteem with my brother being in there. And you got guys, James Silas and these guys. And I don't think Avery belongs in there. I don't think Bruce Bowen belongs in there. I believe Sean Elliott belongs in there. But I don't believe Avery and these guys. And Johnny, I'm a friend of Johnny's, but I honestly don't believe he not his jersey retired. No, I just don't believe that.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say who
Rudy,
should
when
be
will your
retired.
jersey be hanging in the Frost?
So I've talked to Spurs front office.
Okay, that's good.
And
good step.
They are kind of pissed off at me right now, Jeff, because I said I will not allow them to retire my Spurs jersey until they have John
Oh.
Sunvold hanging in the rafters.
John
John Sunvold
Sunvold.
needs to be hanging in the rafters before I allow my jersey to ever be hung up at the Frostbank Center. So that is my take. And I was going to tell you guys on the Manu thing, I remember when Manu was here, I had buddies of mine, like, man, Manu, did you see that move Manu did? Did you see behind the back? Did you see that pass? Manu. Hey, I'm an international guy. I've talked many times with Derek on international players, talking anywhere from Derek Shanehill to Oscar Schmidt. I mean, everybody that him and I have ever talked about. And I said, you know what? That was cool, but I've seen that before. What do you mean you've seen that before? I said, look up Sarunas Marshalloonis. He was doing all the Manu stuff before Manu got to the league. So for the kids out there,
offensively, Rudy.
Okay, offensively, yeah. Sarunas Marshalloonis is doing
Derek.
it offensively. God, man, he's getting me on the offensive side there. Tim Gonzalez is in here. Let me get in here. 1993 first round Spurs knocked out Blazers in the playoffs. Can y'all remember that moment? That was the biggest win in franchise history. Man, I can't remember that far, Tim. I'm going to be honest with you.
What year is that?
I think that's the wrong year.
That might be the wrong year.
Biggest
win
in history. Yeah, you got to be 99.
Yeah, because that's when they
Derek. Remember those old Blazers with Duckworth and Drexler and Kersey? They were just putting it on the Spurs.
Terry Porter, very tough. Tough teams. I even got to play with Terry Porter. I used to work out with those guys here, Jeff. Tim Duncan's rookie year. So, I held Terry Porter in high esteem. I might even have him for the little time he was in San Antonio. I might rank him over Avery Johnson.
Wow.
Man. And going back to Spurs 99, what was that, 25 years ago, right? Or someone coming up on that? 25
years.
25 years. One guy that doesn't get any love, and it kind of upsets me. I'm gonna hit him up on Twitter. Derek, you need to shoot him a text message for me because I know you got his number, but nobody gives Mario Elie any love for the pass that he made to Sean Elliott to get that shot off. Everybody talks about the Memorial Day miracle, but nobody talks about the pass that Mario made for him to get that shot off, man. I mean, that to me, that's the reason why the Memorial Day miracle happened, was because of that pass, man. That's what I'm thinking. Louis in here. Shout out to Louis Lacosina of Taco Truck here. He says, how about Robert Horry? Overhyped Spur. You know what?
I don't think he was hyped.
I don't know if he was overhyped. Again, he's kind of like in that Bruce Bowen part where he did just what he had to do and he kind of performed. I mean, if not for Robert Horry, I don't think the Spurs beat the Phoenix Suns when he had the entire Phoenix Suns bench wanting to beat him up. So I don't think.
Or the Pistons in the finals.
Yeah, they don't win without that shot in the finals. I mean, I would say, yeah. I mean, Robert's probably right where he needs to be, man. So. Man, we had a ton of great questions, great comments. We got to live in basketball history, of course, with Derek and Jeff. We got to keep doing this every now and then because I like having both of you guys on talking old school basketball. I mean, Jeff's been around a bunch of old NBA players. Derek obviously has been playing with the guys that I looked up to. And of course, shout out to San Antonio Spurs out there. I know you have draft picks tomorrow. My name is in the draft pool again. So be sure to look me up. I don't really need a jersey. Just give me the polo. I can ride the pine.
Can I ask Derek something real fast?
Yeah, ask him whatever.
You said you still keep in contact with Terry Cummings?
Yes.
Does he still have that
every
strength?
week?
Does he have that
he's still strong.
He looked like a beast when he was playing.
And he's still in good shape now. He does his walks every day, and he posts videos. He lives out in Georgia now. He's Pastor Cummings, but he's still. You could tell how strong he was. He still has that body, and he looks in really good shape. Hey, can I say, Rudy, you putting a lot of pressure on me because pretty soon the fans are going to want me to bring some of these people on the show, like Mario and a few others, and Alvin. But if I can make it happen, then you let me know, and I'll try my best to make it happen.
I'm not putting any pressure on you. If you ever called me and said, hey, I have this guy to come on, you know me, man. I am all for it. We can talk Old School Hoops. Jeff, they're calling for the TC interview. So you're gonna have to probably see if you can get a Terry Cummings interview on Locked On Spurs.
I would like to see you interview Alvin one day.
Me interview who?
Alvin Robertson. Because you're just a big fan for him, but I don't know how he feels about that.
I don't know. We'll have to figure out.
And you want me to contact Cyril? That's his middle name, Cyril, Cyrale. That's Alvin. Yeah. So if you want me, I talk to him quite often. So if you guys we want to have Alvin on the show, I'll be glad to ask him. And let me say quickly, Rudy, I've told you before, but the people know that Alvin is in San Antonio sometime, and he's also in London.
Yeah.
So he ended up marrying a woman that played when he was in Toronto. And so she's in London, and that's where he goes between San Antonio and London. But I talk to him periodically, and I talk to his brother quite often. So if you want to get him on the show, man, and the people want to hear it, just let me know, and I'll do the best I can. And I believe he'll come on the show for me.
Man, so we have an opportunity to get some legends. You know what, Jeff? Before we go, man, I'm going to ask you and Derek this, and I'm going to answer the same question. Last question we're going to get to here. Give me 5 guys. If you can only name me 3, that's fine. But give me 5 guys you want to interview, Jeff, that you would have on Locked On Spurs, and it could be anybody. Anybody.
Well, I think the first one I already mentioned, Dennis Rodman. I would love to have him on Locked On Spurs. Tim Duncan, just because he's elusive, just to say like I got the elusive Duncan on Locked On Spurs. Who else would be a good one? Does it have to be a Spur?
No.
Oh, it doesn't have to be a Spur.
It can be anybody.
Anybody in the NBA or just anybody?
You know what? Anybody you want. Anybody you want.
All right. I liked this one guy. He heard he was legendary. Rudy Campos. I think I like to have Rudy Campos on Locked On Spurs there. Who else? Me as a nerd. Derek, as you could tell, I don't hide it. I'm a big nerd. I would love to interview Mark Hamill. The voice of the Joker, Luke Skywalker. He's playing. By the way, he's playing a phenomenal role right now in a Netflix series called The House of Usher. He plays an attorney. He's doing a fantastic job in that role. So Mark Hamill will be one I would love to interview. See, a lot of these I've had I had a few on the bucket list that I got checked off. I had the opportunity to share the stage with Carl Weathers before he passed away. And I have photos of him and me doing selfies together. So I kind of had that
Rocky.
Rocky, yep. Let me tell you.
Yeah, from Rocky. Apollo Creed.
For his age, he was in tip-top shape. And by the way, he's a diehard Lakers fan, and I got him to shout out "Go Spurs Go" reluctantly. He hated it, but he shouted it out and stuff. So who's another guy I would love to chat with? I would love to Zack Snyder, the director. I would love to chat with him. I would love to know why his pitch to have a one-off Star Wars movie never panned out, which turned into Rebel Moon. So on Netflix. See, this is where I'm losing Derek now. Derek's like, what in the H is this guy talking about?
Oh, no, I'm staying with you. I'm learning. They say you're supposed to always learn. I'm listening, believe me.
See, and I had another one checked off my bucket list. I had Derek Gervin on Locked On Spurs already.
Yeah.
Already.
That was one time.
Yeah. So Derek, you're off my bucket list there. Got you on there.
Man, I'm proud.
You're like, can I not do that again? And I think that's about it. Those are some there I love to chat with. Man. So a little bit of sports, a little bit of nerdiness. So that'd be a nice little combo. What about you, Rudy?
Me, well, so number 1 has been for a while. It's been Mark Price at number 1. 2 would be Brad Daugherty. 3 would be probably James Worthy.
Ooh.
4 is kind of it's kind of, I don't know. I'll go Alvin Robertson at 4. That would be number 4 because of being one of my favorite Spurs of all time. And I'm going to say put all those guys down 1. Number 1 for me, over everybody, is the greatest basketball player of all time in my mind, and that is Joseph Forte from North Carolina. And, of course, the only person in the entire world to have a Joseph Forte Boston Celtics jersey is in my closet that I had successfully made. But if I could go back in time, Drazen Petrovic would have always been the
pick.
one guy who, I just to sit there and talk to him and ask him, the one question is, leaving Portland to New Jersey, that was the biggest turning point of his career. And I mean, you already saw what he did on international level. Portland, I think they just basically wasted all the talent that Drazen could have brought to that team, because that Portland team was stacked already. And if you add Drazen to what he's capable of doing, that Portland team's winning titles probably for a while if they allow Drazen to play. So, but primarily that's my list right there. The biggest two guys, Joseph Forte, Mark Price, Brad Doherty, those guys right there, Kenny Anderson and Stephon Marbury, those two guys, just to talk to them and, talking to them about New York City basketball, point guards themselves. I mean, I got a long list of guys. Mario Elie is one that we mentioned him. I'd love to talk to him. There's just a ton of guys. I mean, you know what, Jeff, even to the guys, like, I'm a big guy of talking to, like, an Otis Thorpe and, these guys, because I grew up, watching these guys play. And those are guys that I just love to sit down and talk to. Sean Kemp would be another good one. I mean, there's just tons of guys, but I know, Derek, you probably have a couple of guys you'd love to talk to as well, maybe one night if possible.
They're not on the same level. Mine is totally different than you guys, but that's okay.
No, you got it. You drop it up. We got people dropping.
My first one is Pop.
Pop would be.
I would want to talk to Greg Popovich. My second one will be George Strait.
That's a good one.
I have a friend. I have a young man I'm going to start training. His father is really, really good friends with George Strait. So it will be Pop, George Strait. My third one will be Tommy Lee Jones.
Ooh, good pick.
Wow. I like that one.
And then those my guys. And then I would want to interview Kawhi so we can get those laughs. See if we can get that laugh. And my last one would be the guy that I never talked basketball with. We always talked about life, and that would be David Robinson. Those would be my five.
That would be I think the Robinson interview would be one that I would probably just want to sit down at a dinner and all that. It's weird because an interview with David, and this is, I guess, going a little off the cusp here, but an interview with David would be for me equivalent to me sitting down with, and you're probably gonna be surprised, Derek and Jeff, but it's equivalent to me as sitting down with Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. I think you can get an interview with them, just basically just a deep conversation with both of those guys. And I've always felt growing up talking to Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, I think you could get some deep conversations with him. And those are the types of players that I like. Popovich, I mean, if I'm interviewing Pop, I think I'm scared because I don't know what to ask the guy. Personally, I wouldn't even know what to ask him because it just kind of looks like he would look at you like you're the dumbest guy on the planet. And I don't know if I could take that kind of pressure on that stuff. But
I see Sith Elias in the chat saying Vegeta voice actor. Sith, this is how I know you don't listen to Locked On Spurs. We have the Vegeta Sith voice actor doing a drop for Locked On Spurs. I have spoken to him. But all kidding aside, that's a good pick. David, let me tell you a story, Derek. I met David in New York City at the NBA store, and he was promoting Team USA. I shook his hand, and my hand went numb. He had power in that hand. I was like, that's a handshake. And I remember just playing it off like, yeah, that didn't bother me.
Well, before we go, I'm on record as saying that David Robinson hit me with a bowling ball in his bowling bag at University Bowl over there on I-10 in Desavala on a Friday night. Yeah, my parents bowled there on a Friday night, and he came in late in the evening, big tall guy. My mom and dad are there. They got done with league. We turned around, and I just see a big crowd, and I kind of turn away from it, and all of a sudden, I just feel a bowling bag just boom. I'm like, oh, man. Oh, and I turn around and David says, I'm so sorry. Excuse me. And I'm like, hey, you can hit me anytime you want, man. You're David Robinson. You can do whatever you want. Definitely knocked some sense into me after that. So, Man, this has been a great night, man. We talked the NBA draft. We got some Spurs insight on there. Again, tomorrow night is draft night. We're kind of being a little loose right now, but tomorrow the serious stuff happens. Sweep the League is coming to you for the pre-draft show. We're going to be with you for the entire first round of the NBA draft, providing all the coverage wall to wall. So again, join us tomorrow. We're going to be giving away some prizes. After that, we're going to be doing a post-draft show, recapping the first round. We're going to also be going into 2025 draft as well. We'll try to get Jeff on tomorrow's show as well from time to time to give us some insight.
Just I already talked to you off record. It's going to be a little tough. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. So, I mean, whenever we can get Jeff on, even if it's a real quick 5 seconds to give us something, we'll try to get Jeff on. If not, we'll definitely have Jeff on to kind of recap the draft for us. But it will be myself. It'll be Derek Gervin. It's going to be Ben Bornstein from Project Spurs. Also, probably Coach Gio will be here. So we've got a lot of people that are going to be on tomorrow. Again, it's all NBA draft coverage tomorrow from Sweep the League. So appreciate Jeff. Appreciate you joining us tonight, man. Derek. Yeah. We're going to see you tomorrow. But, Jeff, everybody check out Jeff, Locked On Spurs. I'm on there every now and then. I'm the official sixth man for Locked On Spurs with Jeff.
Derek, did you know that Rudy has his own walk-up music on Locked On Spurs? He's the only one that gets that.
Well, I'm glad he deserves the privileges, man. A great guy. So I'm glad you're giving him the respect he deserves.
Derek, is it true? I heard about this, that you once beat the you-know-what out of Rudy Campos in bowling. I heard that you just smoked him. And you just destroyed him.
He must have, I believe he told you that. That would have been on April 1 of whatever year you want to choose. So, no, I'll stick to ping pong. I'm a table tennis and a billiards guy. I'll stick to that.
Yeah, you don't want to play Derek Gervin in ping pong from what I can tell.
Nah, you really don't.
Definitely not. Yeah. Definitely not. But hey, man, we're going to come to you guys again tomorrow for Sweep the League. We're going to be with you probably for a good 5 hours tomorrow. So you're going to get tired of us. Oh, well, you're going to get the best coverage that we can provide here at Sweep the League. So for Derek Gervin, for Jeff Garcia, for everybody that's involved with Sweep the League, again, shout out to MCS General Contracting and La Cocina Taco Truck. You guys are what's making this go with us. They're going to be sponsoring the NBA draft coverage for tomorrow. Shout out to everybody again. Join us tomorrow for the draft coverage. This is Sweep the League. Rudy Campos Jr. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Jeff, your group.